Hey there everyone, it's Dicebag again, and I've got some unboxing videos to do now. We got the finalized versions in the mail of Domain, and I'm going to go through them and talk about each deck. So what we have here is the Wind and the Rain. This is the blue-black deck, and I'm just going to crack it open, and we'll sort the cards out, and then I'll talk about what this deck is all about, and afterwards we'll crack a little booster pack and see what we can do to add to the deck. So let's get right into it. Now, first of all, you'll find that there are some special frame cards in these pre-constructed decks. So these are little extras because I had plenty of room on the print sheets, so I decided why waste it, just throw a little bonus in. So you got some extras in there to begin with. So we'll sort these out now and then I'll tell you what it's all about. Okay, I think we're ready. What we've got here is basically a type of aggro-control deck. This guy uses little units to kind of sneak in things in the early game and then control spells and other things to kind of keep your opponent locked down while you pick away at their territories. So first off, we've got the Human Adventurer. That's your basic unit. It's just a basic 1/1 for 1. And of course you get plenty of them because it's a basic. There's 16 in the deck. You only need 6 of them for the playable deck. And the 10 are just for extra tokens. Then we'll move on to Subversive Voidlings here. These guys are one of the most aggressive units in the game. They can come out on your first turn and start hitting your opponent's territories on the very next turn. And they're flying, so they're hard to block. They're really aggressive, really annoying, and your opponent better have some removal if he wants to stop them. Next up is Swamp Menace. This is your blue and black resource creature, or unit rather. He's an elemental. He can get buffs if you spend extra supplies on him, so he can get as big as you need him to. Just make sure you have free resources to spend on that. And then there's Sinkhole. This is your basic removal card to stop any threats that are harassing you. And it can also be used to destroy a face-up territory if you need to destroy something really quick that you're having a hard time getting to. Like maybe a Red Ridge Peak that's about to start blowing up your dudes. And then we've got Adventurer's Contract. This fields a couple of Human Adventurer tokens as soon as you play it. And then if you spend a few extra supplies, you can beef up all your basic units for the turn by 1/1. So that's good in a deck that's going to use a lot of basic units. And that's one thing I'm trying to do with Domain, is make it so basic units actually have a function outside of just being able to be stuck in a deck at whatever number you want. And then we've got Abyssal Gatekeepers. This is one of your beefiest cards. He's a 4/4 and he's got flying, so a really nice guy to just hit your opponent over and over with. And then he's also got the little drawback in the form of the lightning weakness, which of course means that he'll get taken out by anything that deals lightning damage to him. And then as for the blue cards, we've got Ocean Reach Oracle here. This is a little creature unit to basically just set you up. It can be teamed up with some other units to actually take down a territory. But since all the units are, or all the territories are 0/2s at least, it's going to need some help. Then we've got Mind Whip. This is another removal card that you can use to take out your opponent's units. It does so with damage though, so it only deals 2 damage and you'll only be able to take out some of the smaller units with him. But it has the advantage of that if you do kill a unit with it, its a controller is required to discard a card in addition to that. Then we've got Young Thunderbird. It's a basic 2/2 for 2. Well, not basic in the sense of a basic unit, but simple. It's a 2/2 for 2 with flying. It's just a simple flying guy to fill out the deck, give you something to do on your second turn to keep the pressure on your opponent. Then we've got Eastport Infiltrator. He is a 2/3 for 3 supplies, and whenever he deals enough damage to destroy a territory, if that territory is one of the face down ones that you start with, instead of your opponent getting the card, recovering it to their hand, that goes to their scrapyard instead. So he's a little nice way to deny your opponent some card advantage there. Then we've got our territory cards here. We got Seaside Sanctuary. 3 supplies for a 0/2 territory, and units that your opponents control get -1/-0. So that's basically a way to protect your own territories while your units are off smacking your opponent, basically. Just a nice little reduction to slow them down. And then Research Sanctum, your highest cost card in the deck, 4. And it's a 0/5 territory with the ability to draw a card once a turn because it's expended for 2 supplies. 1 and a blue. So that's pretty beefy, but usually you'll want to be aggressive. This is there for the late game to kind of make things a little easier against decks that are your natural enemy. So now oh wait, first of all, we got all these special frames cards. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get 10 of them, and these can be from the 2 colors in the deck, but they can be from other decks as well. So for this one, we got pretty much all cards that were in the deck already, except for these 2. We've got Sandland Marauders, which is a simple 3/3 for 3 supplies, and it's got a red and black resource mode, so that's not going to be too useful for us. Tentacle Terror, on the other hand, is a little more on the useful side. It's a big guy, a 6/6 for 6 supplies, and it's really nice in that it can expend your opponent's units whenever it attacks. So he can be tricky to block, and he can just kind of wreck your opponent's territories whenever he wants. Now I'll go ahead and crack the booster pack and see what else we might be able to add to this deck. As usual, Game Crafter booster packs are not the most easy to open. That wasn't so bad. Okay. There we go. Alright, first off we got Elven Conjurer. Man, that looks good. I don't think I've actually seen these with this artwork on it before. Let's see. Nope. This is the first time I've seen it, and yeah, it definitely looks good. That's just a basic unit. We're probably not going to want to put that in. Eastport Docks. Let's see, a 0-3 for 2 supplies. Units and artifacts you play cost 1 less. This doesn't have a whole lot of high cost units in it, but I don't know, knocking 1 supply off of the cost of each, that might be useful in the long game. Or if you have something like this, you can draw crazy amounts of cards every turn. Then you might have your hand loaded up and have plenty of things to play. That's something you might want to think about including. Let's see. Now let's stick them over here actually. Put these over here and the includes over here. Vanguard's Blade, that's a white card. We're probably not going to want to splash any white in this, but throwing in some equipment might be a good idea, considering you have small guys like Ocean Reach Oracle that can't really do much on their own. But we're not going to stick that in the include. Elixir of Giant Strength, just a basic artifact that just kind of beefs your guys for a single turn. Also in green, we're not going to stick to that. Red Ridge Peak, this is a nice in-game territory that can basically win the game on its own. It's 3 supplies for 0-4. It's got strategic, so you can only activate its abilities on your build phases. And if you spend 3 supplies and expend it, then it can deal 5 damage to any unit or territory you want. So once you get this thing out on the board and 5 supplies ready, it's a beast. Your opponent's going to have to take it down, maybe with a sinkhole perhaps. But we don't have a whole lot of red in this, although we do have some. We might be able to splash red, but it will be tricky. Probably don't have enough though. See, if we got the Sandlands Marauders here and the Red Ridge Peak, what else do we have in red? We've got a second Marauders, so that's good for your supply base. And then Rage Chanters and Storm Cleaver. You might have a reasonable reason to splash some red in there. Anyways, we got Research Sanctum next. We've already got plenty of those in the deck. Dwarven Spearman, another white card. We're not going to worry about that. Charm Break, counter or destroy target spell. So you can stop a spell from resolving or destroy one that's on the field affecting your creatures or something like that. Only 2 mana or 2 supplies. But it's in green. It's not really something we want to mess with. Another Tentacled Terror. That's going in the think about that pile, because this deck could use some bigger creatures to deal with certain things. Silver Peaks Captain. Fields 2 Dwarven Spearman tokens. We're not worrying about that. Scrying Crystal. It basically serves the same function as the Oracle. Lets you look at the top cards of your deck and change the order around. I don't think we'll need that. Young Thunderbird. It's a fancy looking one. We could just swap that out right there. Eastport Docks. Let's see again. That goes in the include pile. Gold Bottom Fortress. Another white one. We got white for the last 2. So we're probably not going to include these, but Gold Bottom Fortress lets you field more Dwarven Spearman tokens. 2 supplies for a 0-3 territory. Costs 2 to field a Spearman. And then Confederate Frostbringers. 2 supplies are 1-3, and it can expend other units to clamp down on them, stop you from getting attacked or from being defended against, but not something we're going to stick in this deck. So we've got 5 cards here that can produce red supplies. That might be enough for a splash of red, but I'm not so sure we'd want to dilute the deck for it, since we only have one of these and that's your main thing. You could go a more aggressive route and turn this into kind of a more aggro focused deck. Maybe swap out Research Sanctum for a bunch of these and something else. Maybe a basic unit. And then you might have something more aggressive and less long game focused, unless you happen to get Red Ridge Peak, but you're gonna have to give up a lot and bank on little. I don't think if it were me, I'd include the red at all. So let's see. We definitely want to stick Tentacled Terror in somewhere. Maybe we'll swap out an Oracle since they have difficulty taking out territories. We'll make the deck a little more aggressive in the late game. Maybe swap out an Infiltrator and an Oracle for these two guys, because Infiltrator denies card advantage, but it's also kind of weak, so it's not going to happen as much as you might want. And then the docks, we might swap the docks in for some sanctuaries. That might be a good one. Depending on what your opponent's doing, you're gonna have to decide, do you want to play more cards or do you want to stop your opponent? So that's kind of the give and take here. And Eastport Docks comes out a little earlier, so maybe we'll do that. Make the deck a little more black heavy. So if this were me making my own deck just from this is probably what I'd go with. So there we have it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later, and don't forget to check the game out, tell me what you think, and thanks for watching.